We've had just over a week to recover from the tension of the World Championship, and now we're back in Moscow with chess of the highest caliber at the Tal Memorial Tournament, which started today, and we've already seen some fantastic chess. For each round I'm going to be selecting a play of the day, and I had a tough job today. There was some brilliant chess. Very exciting game between Magnus Carlsen and Vladimir Kramnik, which ended in a fairly short draw but was full of fireworks. But instead of that one, I'm going to go with the game between Levon Aronian against Hikaru Nakamura. So let's plunge straight in. Aronian has the white pieces, and you can see that it's a kind of reversed Sicilian actually. It started from an English opening, but it's a reverse Sicilian dragon, and here there's great tension in the middle of the board. You can see these pawns, and white is looking for some kind of opening here. He doesn't want to take straight away, because then black's pawns will still be together and controlling all these very important squares, and of course that would open up the g-file towards the king. Instead of this, Aronian played knight g5. Of course, if he's able to exchange off knight for bishop in this fairly open position, then that could be very good indeed. So Nakamura withdrew the bishop to g8. Okay, he'd intended that. And here it's not possible to take on f5. If bishop takes, then you can see that the knight is actually en prise here. You could perhaps try queen h5, which looks very threatening indeed, but black would have a good defense here. Queen g6, and well, either the queen has to retreat, or if you exchange, then I don't think black has any particular problems. These pawns are very secure, and I would say the position is about equal. So let's go back. It's not exactly clear what white should play after this move, bishop g8, and in fact Aronian simply brought the knight back to f3. Well, you might say this isn't very scintillating play. Nakamura could, if he wanted to, just repeat the position, and perhaps he should have done. But instead of bishop e6, he tries something else. Basically, he glanced at Aronian's clock, and Aronian had just about 5 minutes left for, well, just over 20 moves to get to the time control. Nakamura had a time advantage. He had something like 15 minutes. So he wanted to try and press home this time advantage, and instead of repeating the position, he played f4. Very ambitious indeed. Now the point is that if pawn takes pawn, sorry, let me just play that, pawn takes pawn, this opens up the diagonal here, and if bishop takes pawn, you can take the knight, black's piece up. Of course, you don't have to play that. You could drop the bishop back, but then, you know, black controls these squares. There might be a possibility to attack on the king side. Black is obviously doing very well indeed. But this is where Aronian went into overdrive, and although he was short of time, suddenly he was whipping his moves out so quickly. He played bishop takes b6. Okay, normal exchange, and now knight d5. So he's won quite a nice square for the knight here, but this didn't seem to faze Nakamura. He pressed on the king side with g5. Probably a mistake, but this next move of Aronian's must have come as an enormous shock to Nakamura. Bishop d7, a fantastic thrust into black's camp. Very unexpected, and this sent Nakamura into a real spin. Suddenly his time advantage disappeared. He used up so much time here, and at the end of his think after this move, he was actually down to around about equal time with Aronian. He realised things had gone badly wrong. Okay, let's go through this move. First of all, what happens if queen takes bishop? Then we've got knight takes bishop, forking queen and rook. So that one's no good. What happens if the rook just moves? Well, then we play bishop takes knight, and we take on b6. and suddenly white is 2 pawns up. Now this position still isn't so clear. Black has a bit of counter-attack here, but basically white should be doing well here. The knights start to enter into black's position. You know, this can perhaps swing around here. There's a slight problem with the rook at the moment. Well, for example, bishop takes, knight takes, the rook is attacked, so maybe the rook comes here, but knight d6. You can see how the advance of these pawns has left the king very exposed indeed. The rook is coming down, the knight comes in here. I think white is doing very well there. So Nakamura, after this long think, came up with a very interesting idea, rook e6. So protecting the knight, but giving up the exchange. Aronian took it. Now, if white is very greedy and plays, for example, knight takes b6, then I think black would have serious compensation here. So this is a very interesting try from Nakamura. But here, you know, you've got to watch this pin. Maybe g4 comes, maybe the knight comes into d4. This is a difficult position. But Aronian played very pragmatically, very well indeed. He took the bishop on f6 and now made an excellent counter-sacrifice. He gave back the exchange and played queen a1. Beautiful move, and I have to say Aronian was playing so quickly here. Point is that the pawn on e5 is about to cave in, and with it black's whole position. Black can't avoid this. Nakamura tried desperately to create some counterplay for his rook, but nothing's happening. They went into an endgame, and this is a typical Sicilian endgame, because white has the centre pawns and a clump of pawns together on the king side. So not only is white a pawn up, but positionally stands very well indeed. And Aronian's technique was superb. Okay, there's another pawn threatened on c6. Nakamura advanced. Aronian exchanged, and now this is excellent. I think the one potential problem that white has in this position is his king. You know, the rook can't easily move off the back rank because there are weakened light squares here. You know, you're never sure about a bishop coming in. But Aronian dealt with this very well. First of all, he exchanged and moved his king up the board. So the king will find a safe square on f3, attacking another pawn on f4, and black is lost here. Let's just zip through the end of the game. I mean, if black plays passively here, let's say he tries to defend this pawn, well, there's nothing doing. Basically, white will activate the rook to c1 and attack this one, or you know, maybe come around here. Black is just lost in this position. So Nakamura tried to play actively, but this is no good. King f3, threat, king takes pawn, c4 was played, and good play from Aronian. He's just going to scoop up this pawn here. Rook a2, knight takes d3. Now you can see white is 2 pawns up. Let me just play the last few moves out. Okay, Aronian keeps his nice centre pawns, gives up the pawn on h2, but that one's not important. The important thing is to keep these guys together, everything protected. And now Aronian transposes into a winning rook and pawn ending. Let's just see the last few moves. Now the pawns just slowly advance. Nakamura tries to gain counterplay with the h-pawn, but there's nothing doing. Here we go. The white's chugging forward. The rook comes behind the pawn. It's good. So this h-pawn really isn't very dangerous. And the pawns slowly advance. Now, okay, the threat is just to push the f-pawn forward. Now this is very good. Now the king is trapped on the h-file. The king just comes back. This is good technique actually. Okay, the pawn advances, and now here rook g2, excellent. So the king cannot come over, that's important. It's trapped by the rook on the g file. The rook cannot come over because the white rook takes on h2. And after king h7, well, I think actually Nakamura resigned in this position, but, well, let's see. I think he resigned here actually. Well, let's just play a few moves on. Now again, we can just keep chugging on down the board. If the rook comes across, then you take the pawn at check, and we keep advancing the pawns, just keeping everything together, and black has no decent moves here. Just as long as the king and the pawn stay together, then they just roll through. So there we go, that was my play of the day. Beautiful finish from Aronian, beautiful move, bishop d7, and very nice technique indeed. So do subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see more of these. I'm going to be posting videos regularly throughout the Tile Memorial. See you soon.